This is the Synology DS1823xs Plus 8-bay network attached storage. It is over $2,000 plus the drives add extra cost. Has built-in 10 gigabit Ethernet. Is this thing actually worth it? I'm going to share how I use Synology. If you work at Synology and you want to collaborate, let me know because I do like your products. Now, this comes in a matte black finish. As you can see, it's started to get scratched a little bit from the moving it around. It's got Synology on this side, Synology on that side. On the back, you can see there's two fans. It's starting to build dust. We've got one 10 gigabit port, two LAN ports, USB-A, eSATA ports, the AC, and then a lock, so you can lock this bad boy up. It's pretty heavy. It's got a compact footprint for an 8-bay capacity. And then on the front, you can see we've got some LEDs, the status alert, the LAN lights, and then you can go ahead and press this to pull the drives out. Wow, it is dusty. And in here, I have Seagate drives, 16 terabytes. I think I have a bigger one that has 24 terabytes each, but you can fill with whatever size you want. And then depending on the RAID that you decide to go with. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 drive slots. And then I think I have NVMe on the bottom here to make it faster right there that you can unscrew. That's how you access the M.2 slots. So this is able to give me 48 terabytes of space with RAID 5, probably getting around 30, 40. And why do you need this? Well, who is this for? Well, network attached storage just means you have a hard drive connected to your network that multiple people can access at the same time, plus people on your local network as well as the wide internet. And if you want to be able to access video files, projects, things that are locally stored and not in the cloud, this is a lot more space. Like if I were to pay for Dropbox for this, I think it's about $2,000 to $5,000 per year. Whereas this device is like a one-time fee. I do have to maintain it. If drives break, I have to replace them. And it's accessing it remotely is really based on the internet that it's connected to. So there are some drawbacks, but being able to have my files locally is very important to me. So I actually do pay for Dropbox, but I also locally store those files. So I have a Dropbox version and a Synology NAS version. We have two larger NASs that are about 490 terabytes, half a petabyte essentially, where I'm able to back up my entire Dropbox plus extra stuff on there. And Synology and now Ugreen, which is popping up, are making some drives that are really, really powerful, really good, and the software is pretty strong. So it's like Ugreen, Synology, and QNAP, I think it is. I used to use Drobo, and that was cool, but the software they didn't really have a great software, and it kind of just declined. So we ended up transferring all the files, which took like 3 days to transfer over to Synology, and kind of sunsetted the Drobo, which I do need to sell. And there is a link down below for the Synology NAS. If you do plan to buy it, click that link in the description. You can save money, get this purchase today. Now, dimensions wise, this is about 13.5 inches in its width, 9.6 inches in terms of depth, and then a height of 6.5 inches. It weighs about 13.7 pounds empty. I feel like it's about 30 pounds full. It has 8 drive bays for HDDs, hard drive disks, or SSDs, which would be very expensive. Maximum volume of 200 terabytes, which if you upgrade it to 32 gigabyte RAM, and 108 terabyte standard. It has the expansion slots where you can add 18 drives total with the DX517 5-bay expansion unit. And it has a CPU, memory. It's essentially a computer. It has network ports, one 10 gigabit and two 1 gigabit on the back that we saw. And the powerful thing about this is that you can get sequential read and write speeds of 3,100 megabytes per second read and 2,600 megabytes per second write. And that's when you're using the 10 gigabit Ethernet port here. And if you're encrypted, it's going to be faster than the previous model. So it's just something to keep in mind. The M.2 SSD slots on the bottom here help with caching and accessing files faster. And because there's like multiple drives in there, you're able to access the information faster. There is a PCIe expansion slot as well inside PCIe 3.0. And there's an option for a 25 gigabit Ethernet fiber channel or additional NVMe adapters too. You can plug into the USB 3.2 Gen 1 ports, which give you 5 gigabits per second, 2 on the back and 1 on the front. The eSATA ports for expansion units. It comes with an external power supply, which is 250 watts. And then it has DSM, which is DiskStation Manager, their Synology's like operating system to be able to pick between RAID 0, 1, 5, 6, 10, F1 Basic, JBOD, and it just does not support Synology Hybrid RAID SHR. And then the file system is Btrf with snapshot support. It has a warranty of 5 years. And the value that I found with this is like we have all our footage on here. If I need to access it locally, I can quickly open up the NAS on my MacBook, my Windows computer, even my iPhone. There's apps. I can back up all my iCloud photos from my iPhone to the Synology using the apps that they have. And it makes it really easy and it's fast. So like 10 gigabit Ethernet was important to me for video files. I have large files. Being able to access it on the network remotely and this just makes it easy. The downside is there's a large setup process, learning process. I've been watching a guy called Space Rex on YouTube, and he just has all the guides and information that you need to learn about Synology. So he's kind of my resource to learn on how it works. And then I use that to kind of implement the things that I need specific to my use cases. And there's some other cool features that you can use that I personally don't use, which is like VMware. So you can run a virtual machine on here. There's a professional backup suite, so you can back it up to Windows file servers, hyper backup, Synology C2 cloud backup, surveillance station. You can back up your footage from security cameras on here, different kind of like internet protocol cameras. There's Synology high availability clustering, so you can have multiple units that are identical and just have the same data on both in case one breaks down, you know, one at my parents' house, one at like a cousin's house. So that way, you know, you have multiple backups, because just because it's RAID backup to here and a drive fails doesn't mean if that something happens, a storm, internet outage, or there's a fire and then you lose all the hard drives. You want to make sure you have a second physical location as well, and ideally the cloud too. Some of the downsides is that it's a 108 terabyte volume limit with a 32 gigabyte RAM without the 32 gigabyte RAM. So you do have to get extra RAM to upgrade it. I bought the larger Synology ones and I did upgrade their RAM. It's just an extra cost. It's another $400 to upgrade. So that way you can have 200 terabyte volume support. The M.2 drives, the NVMe in here don't have heat sinks, so they can warm up, and that might throttle performance if it gets too warm. And then the USB ports are Gen 1 instead of Gen 2, like USB-C, which I would like to see Gen 2 ports. And then it can get a bit loud. There's 2 fans in the back, 120 millimeter fans. And when there's heavy usage, it might get a bit loud. So something to keep in mind, if you have this in an office where you're filming, you know, babies, just plan for the noise. So diskless, how much does this cost? $1,900. And then you can buy drives. Like I bought the 16 terabyte drives, which are about $300 to $400 per drive. You can get SSDs, which are like $800 per drive, or NVMe is another $250. So it really depends on how much you're willing to spend, the speeds that you need, and the size. I always recommend getting more bays, more space than you need, because honestly double maybe even, just to be safe, because we're always going to be filling it up and you don't want to buy a new one. And then it's like buying Cat 6A cables, make sure you have a 10 gigabit Ethernet switch, making sure your computer supports 10 gigabit Ethernet like the Mac Studio does, but the MacBook Pro does not. I had to buy an adapter. And then there's electricity costs, like it's using 0.12 kilowatts. So if you're running it for 24/7, the electricity usage is going to be about $40 to $60 per year, depending on where you live. And if you have cloud backup, so there is like the cost of ownership can increase. It's not just $2,000. The hardware is like $4,000. Electricity is $250. Replacing the drives, you know, estimating you have 1 to 2 failures, you know, in a 2 to 5 year time frame, $600. So it's going to be about $5,000 smack down, and then $1,000 to operate it per year. Now, is this thing worth it? If you're willing to invest the time to learn and you want to have your files stored locally, absolutely, yes. I highly recommend having a local storage of your files, even if you do have it on the cloud, because if something happens to Dropbox or I need to download all the footage, like downloading terabytes of footage will take days, months. So I highly recommend you always have a local copy. It's just the learning curve, the time that you have to invest in learning this can be a bit of a drawback, but I do recommend it. There's a link down below. Synology, if you want to work with me, let me know. I think we have like 4 Synology NASs right now. This is the smaller one that we have, and then I have 2 massive, like 18 bay ones. But one day I want to have like a massive server rack. But until then, subscribe, turn notifications, click the link in the description to buy your Synology. We'll see you in the next video. Peace.